And welcome back to Newsmax Prime. After the latest terror attack in Orlando, many are becoming increasingly concerned about national security, understandably so. Newsmax TV sent out a crew to the streets to find out which presidential candidate you think will keep us the safest. Here's what some of you had to say.
The worst candidate for protecting America from terrorists is Hillary. I think Mr. Trump is the best way to go.
Of course, Trump will be definitely more hardcore.
President Trump-elect would do the best job, and I think Hillary Clinton should go to jail.
Donald Trump will protect us from terrorism the best.
I feel that Secretary Clinton will do a much better job protecting this country simply because she has the foreign policy experience.
Donald Trump can protect Americans. He has been very vigilant during the campaign. He has called it what it is, and he has a plan to stomp out ISIS and, other terrorists around the world.
Donald Trump will do a better job than any.
Donald Trump will be the best candidate to protect us because he has a better understanding of what's going on, the threat with ISIS. I just think he would take care of the problem.
So do you agree or do you disagree? Give us a call at 1-877-NEWSMAX to let your voice be heard. For more on this debate now, we want to welcome in Chief Instructor at South Florida Gun School, Bob Harvey. Welcome to Newsmax Prime. Good to see you again.
Always good to see you, Miranda.
I'm sorry that it's been under these circumstances with what's going on in Orlando, but Donald Trump says that he is willing to sit down with the NRA to discuss barring people on the terror watch list and the no-fly list from legally purchasing guns. Now, the NRA, as you know, you're a member, has endorsed Trump, and it says it's happy to meet with him, but it's not changing its position. Bob, is what Trump is supporting now, is that a departure from the NRA's stance on the Second Amendment?
Absolutely. There's several problems with the no-fly zone. The major problem is that there's no criteria for the government to put you on that. And there's no criteria to get off if you haven't done anything wrong. It's kind of bizarre. The fallacy of all of this is the fact that someone would think that the government can protect you.
I want to go now to, we've been talking about this today, we were talking about it earlier on the show. As you know, the Democrats have been filibustering, talking about more gun control in light of this shooting that happened in Orlando, the largest mass shooting here in U.S. history.
That's not true. I've heard that 100 times, but that is not true.
Okay.
Somebody needs to look up Wounded Knee if they think this was the largest mass shooting. It's not even close.
Nonetheless, it is very sad what happened there, and a lot of people are still in shock, including myself, as I'm sure you are. We were talking about Trump's stand versus the NRA. Now, the NRA still says that it's standing by, it still wants to have guns out of terrorist hands. They support a measure by a Republican in Texas. Can you go in more detail about what the NRA does support?
Well, first off, let me say before we start with anything, my heart and prayers go out to the families, the friends, the LGBT community. This is such a tragedy that we've not seen it in this country in many, many years. It's amazing to me that Washington, D.C. thinks they can cure this problem when they've created it themselves. They come on right away, and instantly it is a gun control issue as opposed to an illegal or immigration issue that they could have handled years ago. We're in a situation...
Right, but the NRA is supporting a measure by this Republican that would bar people on a watch list from buying guns for 72 hours.
Well, I'm not so sure that's the case. You say that they're supporting it. Until the writing and the wording comes out, there's no way they'll support it, and neither will I.
All right.
Do I have a problem with terrorists getting their hands on guns? Yeah, I have a problem with terrorists coming into this country.
Right. Right, and you're not the only one. Tyler from Idaho joins us now on the phone. Tyler, what's your question or comment?
Well, I just want to say that he's exactly right, and that's my comment is it's funny that Clinton and Obama both come on and want to talk about gun control, but they forget that there's already lots of things that are illegal in this country. For instance, heroin, cocaine, all that stuff, but the bad guys still seem to get their hands on that whenever they need it. They've got these open borders, and they want these open borders, but they want to ban guns for all the law-abiding citizens in the country, and these people can just flood in across the border with illegal firearms and illegal drugs and come over here and shoot people up. If they made a ban on firearms, the only thing it would do was disarm the law-abiding citizens to be able to protect themselves. The bad guys would still get their hands on guns if they wanted to, and they would still be able to do the terror. That is not the problem. The problem is the borders. It is the people they have coming in here, and it's the measures in which they go about everything that they're doing. It's a complete disgrace to the U.S., to the American people, and we're all fed up with it. I'm 32 years old. This will be the first election I've ever voted in my life. I'm voting for Trump, and the reason I signed up to vote is it's now or never. The people need to wake up, and everybody's on board.
Tyler, thank you so much for your comments. Really appreciate it. Earlier today, Donald Trump argued that the death toll in Orlando would have been smaller if partygoers had guns with them. Let's take a look and listen to what he had to say.
If some of those great people that were in that club that night had guns strapped to their waist or strapped to their ankle, and if the bullets were going in the other direction, aimed at this guy who was just open target practice, you would have had a situation, folks, which would have been always horrible, but nothing like the carnage that we all as a people suffered this weekend.
Bob, do you agree with that?
Absolutely.
I mean, we know a security guard did have a gun on hand. As far as everyone else, we're not sure of that.
Well, they couldn't possibly have guns in there. The Florida government has made it illegal to have a firearm in a bar, even if you've had a background check.
Well, obviously, this shooter did.
Well, the shooter broke the law. I mean, murder is illegal. Having a gun in a bar is illegal here in Florida. The facts are, had there been someone armed, at least they would have had a chance. These folks were in that club. It was like shooting fish in a barrel. They had to wait 3 hours. I want our listeners to think about that. They waited 3 hours for a SWAT team to breach.
Well, but part of the reason, and we're hearing reports, part of the reason they did that is because I thought that the gunman said that he was armed with explosives. That was part of the reason they did that. But I want to go to Darren in California, who joins us live on the phone. Darren, what's your question or comment?
Hi, I have a comment as for this simply. Weapons are for defense. We're not hearing the word defense much at all, are we? It's always these weapons are to kill. And I haven't heard anything about defense. Defense is so much more important and personal. And when we hear something like a 3-hour wait of a SWAT team coming around, it makes us unsafe, feel unsafe. So I simply believe that weapons are important. We all have the right to defend ourselves. And this is something that I need to make sure people understand. Also, second point is I believe that Islam is at war with us. And until we can actually come to that realization, we're like fish in a barrel.
Are you talking about Islam or are you referring to radical Islam?
Well, you can say radical or you can say Islam. Two different approaches to this topic.
Darren, thanks so much for joining us here on Newsmax Prime. We appreciate your comments. We're going to give you the last 45 seconds, Bob, to respond to what Darren had to say there.
45 seconds. Yeah, 3 hours. Folks, if you think that the government can protect you, you're sadly mistaken. Arm yourself, train, defend your family, your friends. Can I guarantee that one armed person in that bar would have made a difference? Might have saved a life or two. But 30 armed people in that bar that night would have cut it in a quarter.
Bob Harvey, thanks so much for joining us here on Newsmax Prime. We appreciate all your insight and your experience.
Thank you, Miranda.
And thank you so much for joining us for this edition of Newsmax Prime. It was a pleasure to have you, and we'll see you here again tomorrow night for another edition of Newsmax Prime. Good night.